When you think of history, you probably picture dusty textbooks and serious people making serious decisions. But history is also hilariously weird. Sometimes it feels like a different planet with its own bizarre logic. Today, we're diving into 25 of the strangest, most unbelievable moments from the past. Stories you definitely didn't learn in school. Get ready for military geniuses defeated by bunnies, ancient rulers closer to us than their own monuments, and plagues that made people dance to death. Let's jump right in! Napoleon Bonaparte, conqueror of Europe, once faced his most humiliating defeat, not by armies, but by rabbits. After the treaties of Tilsit, Napoleon's chief of staff organized a celebratory rabbit hunt. Hundreds of domesticated rabbits were released for the event. Instead of fleeing, the rabbits charged at Napoleon and his men, expecting food. The emperor was swarmed by a relentless tide of fluffy attackers. Rabbits ran up his legs, into his coat, and chaos erupted. His men tried to fend them off, but the bunnies were unstoppable. Napoleon was forced to retreat to his carriage, pursued by the horde. The great military genius, outmaneuvered by rabbits, made a tactical escape. It's a reminder that history's most powerful figures can be undone by the most unexpected foes. Sometimes, the past is stranger and cuter than fiction. Napoleon's rabbit retreat remains one of history's most bizarre military defeats. Never underestimate a determined bunny. Cleopatra and the pyramids. Sounds like the same era, right? Not even close. The Great Pyramid was finished around 2560 BC. Cleopatra lived in the 1st century BC. She's closer in time to us than to the pyramid builders, by about 500 years. The pyramids were ancient ruins to her, tourist attractions for visiting Romans. Fast forward, the gap between Cleopatra's death and the first iPhone is less than the gap between her and the pyramids. To Cleopatra, the world of the pyramid builders was more alien than our world is to her. History's timelines are way weirder than they seem. In 1932, Australia declared war on emus. 20,000 emus invaded Western Australian farms, destroying crops. The government sent soldiers with machine guns to stop them. The birds proved to be tactical geniuses, dodging bullets and scattering in small groups. The army's guns jammed, and the emus kept coming. After weeks of humiliation and thousands of wasted bullets, the military gave up. The emus had officially won. The Emu War is a real chapter in history where birds outsmarted the army. Australia's farmers were left to fend for themselves. The emus, they strutted away victorious. Sometimes nature wins, spectacularly. The Emu War remains one of history's most ridiculous military campaigns. Score emus 1, humans 0. Benjamin Franklin invented the glass harmonica, a musical instrument made of spinning glass bowls. Its haunting, ethereal sound enchanted Europe, inspiring Mozart and Beethoven. But soon, rumors spread. The harmonica's music could drive listeners mad, summon spirits, or even cause nervous breakdowns. Performers reported dizziness and cramps. Some towns banned it outright. The real culprit? Probably lead poisoning and mass hysteria. For a while, Franklin's beautiful invention was feared as a machine that could shatter the mind. Sometimes the line between genius and ghost story is razor thin. When potatoes arrived in Europe, people were suspicious. Some even thought they caused disease. In France, potatoes were banned for human consumption. Enter Antoine-Augustin Parmentier, a potato superfan. He convinced the king to let him plant potatoes, then had soldiers guard the fields by day, making them seem valuable. At night, the guards left, and locals stole the potatoes to plant themselves. Parmentier also hosted fancy potato dinners for celebrities and royalty. Soon, potatoes became fashionable, and then essential. A clever PR campaign turned a reviled tuber into a European staple. Sometimes all it takes is a little showmanship to change history. The potato's rise is a masterclass in marketing. From banned to beloved thanks to one man's obsession. Bon appétit! The iconic image of the Founding Fathers signing the Declaration of Independence on July 4th? Total myth. Only John Hancock and the secretary signed anything that day, a rough draft. The famous parchment wasn't ready until August, and signatures trickled in over weeks and months. The dramatic group signing was invented later for national unity. In reality, it was bureaucracy, not bravado. History's most famous signature moment? More paperwork than pageantry. Sometimes the truth is less cinematic but more interesting. In 1518, Strasbourg was struck by a bizarre epidemic. People couldn't stop dancing. It started with one woman, then dozens, then hundreds. Authorities thought the cure was more dancing, so they hired musicians and built stages. The result? A deadly dance marathon. People collapsed from exhaustion, some even died. Historians still debate the cause. Ergot poisoning, mass hysteria, or something else? The dancing plague remains one of history's strangest medical mysteries. Sometimes the past is literally unbelievable, and sometimes it dances itself to death. Vikings weren't just warriors, they were masters of flighting, the original rap battle. In the Great Hall, they traded vicious, poetic insults to establish dominance. These duels were creative, personal, and sometimes more damaging than swords. Even Norse gods got in on the action. Loki once insulted every deity at a feast. Flighting was entertainment, social order, and reputation all in one. The Vikings proved words could be as sharp as axes. History's fiercest fighters were also its fiercest trash talkers. In early 1900s America, you could mail almost anything, including children. Parents sent kids by parcel post, paying just a few cents in stamps. Mail carriers delivered babies and toddlers to relatives, sometimes hundreds of miles away. The practice lasted 2 years before the Postmaster General finally banned mailing humans. It's a short, strange chapter in postal history. Sometimes the rules really do need to be written down. Please don't try this at home. The Great Chicago Fire of 1871 was blamed on Mrs. O'Leary's cow kicking over a lantern. The story was invented by a reporter for dramatic effect. The real cause? Still unknown. Maybe a gambler, maybe a stray ember, maybe just bad luck. Mrs. O'Leary was vilified for life, only exonerated over a century later. Sometimes a good story overshadows the truth. History's scapegoats aren't always the guilty ones. Sorry, Bessie. In 1952, Israel offered its presidency to Albert Einstein. It was a serious offer. He could keep doing science just with a presidential title. Einstein declined, citing his lack of political skill and his age. Imagine a world where the father of relativity was also a head of state. Sometimes even geniuses know their limits. Einstein's humility was as legendary as his intellect. The world got MC2, not President Einstein. Young Julius Caesar was kidnapped by pirates who demanded a ransom. He insisted they ask for double, because he was worth it. While captive, he bossed the pirates around and promised to crucify them. They laughed. He was serious. After his release, Caesar hunted them down and kept his word. It was an early sign of his ruthless ambition. Even as a hostage, Caesar was in charge. Never underestimate a future dictator. Meet Wojtek, the bear who fought in World War II. Adopted by Polish soldiers, Wojtek drank beer, smoked, and wrestled with the troops. To bring him to battle, they enlisted him as Private Wojtek. In Italy, he carried artillery shells under fire, never dropping a single one. The unit's emblem became a bear with a shell. After the war, Wojtek retired to a zoo, a celebrated hero. Sometimes the bravest soldier isn't even human. Wojtek's legend lives on. The Eiffel Tower hasn't always been brown. Since 1889, it's been repainted 19 times. Red, yellow, ochre, even a 5-color gradient. Today's Eiffel Tower brown is actually 3 shades, darkest at the base, lightest at the top. The color changes create a uniform look from the ground. There's even debate about returning to its original red for the Olympics. The Iron Lady's fashion sense is always evolving. Paris's icon is never out of style. In 1814, a London brewery's giant beer vat exploded, unleashing a tidal wave of porter. Over 1 million liters of beer flooded the streets, destroying homes and drowning 8 people. The disaster was ruled an act of God. No one was held responsible. It's one of history's strangest industrial accidents. A neighborhood literally drowned in beer. Sometimes the past is tragic and absurd at the same time. Cheers to history's weirdest flood. Genghis Khan's empire was vast, but his genetic legacy is even bigger. A 2003 study found that about 16 million men today share a Y chromosome traceable to one man in 13th century Mongolia. The most likely candidate? Genghis Khan himself. His conquests, and many wives, spread his DNA across Asia. It's the most successful case of reproduction in history. Sometimes the past lives on in our genes. Genghis Khan, conqueror, emperor, ancestor. President Andrew Jackson's parrot, Pole, was infamous for swearing. At Jackson's funeral, the bird unleashed a torrent of profanity, shocking mourners. The parrot had to be removed so the service could continue. It's a fitting tribute to Jackson's colorful language. Sometimes history's oddest moments come from the animal kingdom. Pole the parrot, presidential pet, legendary potty mouth. Even funerals aren't safe from history's surprises. In medieval Karakorum, the Mongol court had a silver, tree-shaped fountain that dispensed 4 kinds of alcohol. Designed by a captured Parisian goldsmith, it featured lions and serpents pouring wine, mead, rice wine, and kumis. A hidden attendant made the drinks flow on command. It was a marvel of engineering and a legendary party trick. The Mongols knew how to impress their guests. History's ultimate open bar. Cheers to the original party animals. From rabbit invasions to beer tsunamis, history is far stranger than fiction. These stories prove the past is full of creativity, absurdity, and surprises. Every artifact and old document hides a tale you'd never expect. The people before us were just as weird and wonderful as we are. Which fact blew your mind? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more history's oddities. Thanks for watching. See you next time.